Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Radhanat Radha Radhanat Radhe. Jaya Nithya Gaura Hari Nithya Gaura Hari Gaura Hari. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So thank you once again for joining us on this Sunday morning. We're going to be speaking from Krishna book on the prayers by the personified Vedas. And before we do that, let me just chant some invocation mantras. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ulmenitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Svapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. And the invocation of Srimad Bhagavatam for Krishna book. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. Krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha nanda gopa kumaraya govindaya namo namaha. Nama pankajanabhaya nama pankajamaline nama pankajanetraya namaste pankajangre. So thank you devotees for joining us once again. And before we begin, please bless me so that I can say something that is pleasing to the heart. So we're speaking today on the prayers by the personified Vedas. These prayers of the personified Vedas are very complicated. And we can see that there are quite a few speakers on this chapter. And actually in Krishna book, it's one of the longest chapters. And the actual prayers of the Vedas are, I think, about 26 verses, but Srila Prabhupada in the Krishna book, he has elaborated it and give us so much of information, so much of detail about these prayers. So this chapter actually begins with a question. And the question is, Maharaj Parikshit is asking Sukadev Goswami that since Vedic knowledge generally deals with the subject matter of the three qualities of the material world, how then can it approach the subject matter of transcendence? So in other words, the Vedas are dealing with the three modes of material nature. So how could the Vedas actually offer prayers to the Supreme Lord? And Krishna confirms this in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 45. He says, Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nishtraya Gunya Bhavarjuna. And the translation of that is that the Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from all the dualities and from all the anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. But the Vedas are meant to understand Krishna. Krishna further, he says in chapter 15, he says, Vedesa cha sarver aham eva vedyo. Vedanta krit veda vid eva chaham. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. I am the compiler of Vedanta and the knower of the Vedas. So, the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Krishna. And the three modes of material nature are dealing with karma kanda, jnana kanda. But Nishtraya Gunya Bhavarjuna rise above these three modes and become transcendental. So, Maharaj Parikshit had raised this question to Sukadev Goswami. And in answer to that question, Sukadev Goswami, he relates a pastime. When Narad Muni had asked Narayan Rishi, so Narad Muni, he personally visited Narayan Rishi in Badrik Ashram, and he asked the very same question. And Narayan Rishi, he responded. Now he's in meditation in Badrik Ashram. It said that he is still in meditation. And Narayan Rishi is an expansion of the Supreme Lord. So, Narayan Rishi spoke about a discussion that took place in Janaloka. Now, this is the very beginning of the chapter, right? So I'm just giving you a little background. So he spoke about a discussion that took place in Janaloka between the four Kumaras and other sages. And they were addressed by Sanandana, one of the four Kumaras. And he spoke about, at the time of dissolution, when dissolution takes place, then the entire cosmic manifestation goes back into the navel of Mahavishnu. Right? And, sorry, not Mahavishnu, it's Garbhadaksha Vishnu. And the Lord remains asleep. Right? He is asleep for a very long time. And then, when it's necessary for creation again, then the personified Vedas, they go and they perform, they offer prayers to him to wake him up and begin creation again. It's like, I think Srila Prabhupada gives the example of a king. When a king is asleep, then all his messengers, they want to wake him up, so they will go and they will chant his glories, and then the king will be able to wake up. So in the same way, the Vedas, they are glorifying the Supreme Lord. And these glorifications or these prayers are discussed in this chapter. So, we're going to continue. We will speak from where the speaker stopped the last week. And the Vedas are praying. They're saying, Dear Lord, it is therefore our conclusion that all the conditioned living entities are attracted by your material energy. And that is only due to their mistaken identifying themselves as products of the material nature, that they are transmigrating from one body to another in forgetfulness of their eternal relationship with you. Because of ignorance, these living entities misidentify themselves in different species of life, and especially when elevated to the human form of life, they identify with a particular class of men, or a particular nation, or race, or so-called religion, forgetting their identity as eternal servants of your Lordship. Due to this faulty conception of life, they are undergoing repeated birth and death. Out of the millions of them, if one becomes intelligent enough by associating with pure devotees, he comes to the understanding of Krishna consciousness and comes out of the jurisdiction of the material conception. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is confirmed by Lord Chaitanya that the living entities are wandering within this universe in different species of life, and that if one of them becomes intelligent enough by the mercy of the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, then he begins his devotional life in Krishna consciousness. It is said, Harim vina na mrityum taranti. Without the help of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot get out of the clutches of repeated birth and death. In other words, only the Supreme Personality of Godhead can relieve the conditioned souls from the cycle of repeated birth and death. So here, the personified Vedas are speaking about the mercy of the Lord. He is helping the living entity. He expands himself as Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And in these three ways, he is making arrangements for the living entities to transcend this material nature and go back to the spiritual world. So, as a super soul, he is within us and he is guiding us. Right? As a guru, he is sending his personal associates to guide the living entities. And Shastra, he has incarnated as sage Vyasadeva and given us all the Vedic literature. So in this way, the Lord is guiding the living entities back to the spiritual world. So here, the personified Vedas are speaking about the living entities misidentifying themselves. So all of us, we are encaged. We are actually spirit souls encaged within a material body. And because of our identification with this body, we identify ourselves as an Indian, a human being, a South African. All of these are just bodily identifications. And it's only when we understand our true nature, that we are spirit souls, part and parcel of Krishna, then we will ask the most important questions. Who am I? What am I doing here? What am I supposed to be doing here? And in that way, try to find answers that will help us to pave our way back to the spiritual world. And that's how Krishna is giving us this knowledge in the Vedic literatures, so that we are able to follow these Vedic principles and ultimately go back home, back to Godhead. So in this part of the chapter, Srila Prabhupada has paraphrased the famous verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Brahmande Brahmande Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jiya, Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhakti Lata Bij. Out of the millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master. And by the grace of Krishna, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. So, here, it's being stressed that we should look towards the Vedas and also surrender unto a spiritual master. And in this particular portion of the prayer, the Vedas are speaking about association of pure devotees. Now, in the Vedic scriptures, there are many pastimes where devotees were elevated due to the association of a saintly Vaishnava. Now, in Srimad Bhagavatam, we look at the first canto, Narad Muni. He takes remnants from the traveling sages, and in the next life, he's taken birth as Narad Muni. And we know he is a pure devotee trying to deliver many of the conditioned living entities within this material world. There's also the pastime of Ajamil. Ajamil was a sinful Brahmin, but at the time of death, he chanted the name of Narayan, and he wasn't actually thinking of the Supreme Lord Narayan. His son's name was Narayan, so he was actually calling out his son's name. But because the name Narayan is the Lord's name, he got the mercy of the Lord, and he was delivered from actually entering hell by the Yamadutas. Now there, it's described that his brief association, he was unconscious, but he was listening to this conversation between the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas that spoke about the Yamadutas. They explained how he was so sinful during his lifetime and why he deserved to go back to hell and receive punishment. And the Vishnudutas argued that he had been chanting the name of the Lord and he had purified himself because he was chanting inadvertently. He wasn't really thinking that he's chanting and then he's performing sinful actions and he's chanting to atone those. No, he was just calling out his son's name. But because he had chanted the Lord's name, he received all the mercy. So this association of the Vishnudutas for those brief moments had made Ajamil realize his true position and helped him to attain the spiritual world. Now there's also in the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there's the pastime of Dhruva Maharaj, who attained the association of Narad Muni. So in this way, Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So in this way, we see that many devotees who attained salvation actually achieved this through the association of saintly Vaishnavas. So, here the Vedas are speaking about how important it is to get the association of a saintly Vaishnava. That means taking the association or surrendering unto a spiritual master. Because, like we said, the Lord, He is actually expanding Himself in so many ways in the material world to help the living entities. And one of them is that He expands as the spiritual master to guide the living entities. And we also see here, even in this pastime, where there's the assembly of the sages, right at the very beginning, we spoke about the association of the four Kumaras, and they were relating this pastime. Sukadev Goswami is relating this pastime to Maharaj Parikshit, and they were speaking, or he was speaking about the four Kumaras that were relating the prayers of the personified Vedas. Now, here we can see that even in the higher planets, the devotees take association of one another, and they are following these regulative principles in association with one another. So it's very, very important for us as conditioned souls to take the association of saintly Vaishnavas that have realized the Supreme Lord and can give us this information, right? So, what we understand by this is that we can see that there are many sages, but they also take knowledge from authorized personalities. Now, the books are there. We have all our scriptures, but they are not enough. The books can be misleading, right? As we see with Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the perfect summary of the Vedas, but because society in general do not have qualified teachers, their followers become bewildered. So, if we look at Bhagavad Gita, there are so many interpretations out there. There are many, many Bhagavad Gitas out there, but none of them have made a devotee, right? And then Srila Prabhupada gave us Bhagavad Gita as it is, right? Exactly the way Krishna spoke it and Arjuna understood it, right? Not the way Krishna spoke it and I understood, or the writer understands. Exactly the way Krishna understood it. And that is the problem with many of the Bhagavad Gitas around. They are the interpretation of the writers, and thus they don't make a single devotee. Whereas Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, his Bhagavad Gita is as Krishna spoke and as Arjuna understood it. And then it made thousands of devotees, right? So this is the problem with Vedic understanding. If we don't have the proper teacher, we cannot understand, and then we are prone to be misled. So it's very, very important for us to take the association of senior Vaishnavas who have realized Krishna and can give us Krishna as he is. Right? So the Vedas continue. The influence of time, past, present, and future, and the material miseries such as excessive heat, excessive cold, birth, old age, and disease are simply movements of your eyebrows. Everything is working under your direction. So it is said in the Bhagavad Gita that all material activity is going on under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we look at each of these aspects, right? Excessive heat, cold, birth, old age, disease. These are all experiences that we have in this material world related to this material body. Right? But who are we? We are actually spirit souls. We don't belong here. We belong in the spiritual world. Right? So, why are we suffering? The point is, why are we suffering? These cold, excessive cold. Today it's so windy. Then we have excessive heat. And then there's disease, old age. All the things that are tribulations to all of us. So, here the Vedas are saying, these are simply movements by your eyebrows. Why? Because actually, this material world is a desire of this living entities. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 15, there's a description of the banyan tree. And the banyan tree, Krishna explains, is there's no beginning and no end. That banyan tree is just an allegory of the material world. There's no beginning and there's no end. But then he says, one should cut down the branches of this tree with the weapon of knowledge. Right? Because who's created this material world? We say it's the Lord, right? The Lord's created this material world. Then the question is, why did he create it? Why did he create this material world? Simply because all of us desired to enjoy away from him. So in the spiritual world, there is only one enjoyer, the Supreme Lord. But if you want to enjoy, you cannot enjoy in the spiritual world. So he created a world away from the spiritual world so that the living entities can enjoy. Right? But with that enjoyment comes the miseries, excessive heat, excessive cold, birth, old age, disease, and death. Right? So are we really enjoying here? And that's why Krishna says, through this weapon of knowledge, one should destroy this banyan tree. Right? So we need to go back to the spiritual world. And to do that, we have to identify or learn the Vedic principles and follow them. And in that way, we can pave our way back to the spiritual world. So here, the Vedas are saying everything is working under your direction. But it's a direction so that the living entities can experience this misery and then understand, ask themselves, why am I suffering here? And in that way, understand that this material world, even though it was created for the living entity to enjoy, there is no real enjoyment. There is no real enjoyment. We are here and our enjoyment is fleeting. It's a little. I mean, if there was no enjoyment at all, then it will be completely miserable. But you get one or two sparks of enjoyment. Right? But in total, this material world is designed to make the living entity want to go back to his original home. And it's through all these material miseries that we question, why am I suffering here? Who am I? Where do I belong? And when we look for the answers, then we'll understand that Mam eva angsha jiva loka jiva bhuta sanatano. The living entities are part and parcel of me, and they are suffering within this material world. Right? So once you understand that, then you'll want to make your way back home, back to Godhead, where there is complete enjoyment. So the Vedas continue. All the conditions of material existence are opposing elements for persons who are not surrendered unto you. But for those who are surrendered souls and are in full Krishna consciousness, these things cannot be a source of fear. So, Srila Prabhupada mentions that when Lord Nrsimhadev appeared, Prahlad Maharaj was never afraid of him, whereas his atheist father was immediately faced with death personified and killed. Therefore, although Lord Nrsimhadev appears as death for an atheist like Hiranyakashipu, he is always kind and is the reservoir of all pleasure for devotees like Prahlad. A pure devotee is not therefore afraid of death, old age, disease, and afraid of birth, old age, disease, and death. So, devotees, generally, they are not afraid of these four tribulations because they understand that I am servant of Krishna, Jivera Swarup Hoy, Krishner Nitya Das. So anywhere, whether in the material world, spiritual world, hellish planets, heavenly planets, I can serve Krishna wherever I am. Right? So here, Srila Prabhupada mentions this pastime of Lord Nrsimhadev, and when he appeared, then all the demons and the atheists were afraid of him. Actually, he was so angry that even the demigods were afraid of him. So, in Andhra Pradesh, there is a deity of Nrsimhadev called Vava Swami. Now, this deity is manifested. I'm not sure what the town is called, but I know it's in Andhra Pradesh. What happened was when Lord Nrsimhadev appeared, all the demigods were very, very afraid of him because he was so angry, and they pushed Prahlad forward. First, they asked Mother Lakshmi, and she said, "No, I don't understand this form of my Lord. I've not seen him in this form before." So then they urged Prahlad Maharaj to go because he had appeared to protect Prahlad Maharaj. So then the Lord, he took out his hands. He showed his hands like this. Now in South India, va means come, right? So this way, just like Lord Jagannath has his hand stretched out, he's calling the devotees, come, come, right? So this Vava Swami is the Lord Nrsimhadev calling his devotees, come, I will protect you. So, even though the demigods and the demons were afraid of Lord Nrsimhadev, Nrsimhadev was actually calling them that, come, I will protect you, right? So, this is the mercy of the Lord, right? So, continuing further, Srila Sripada Sridhar Swami has composed a nice verse in this regard with the meaning going as follows. My dear Lord, I am a living entity perpetually disturbed by the conditions of material existence. I have been cracked to pieces by the smashing wheel of material and existence, and because of my various sinful activities while existing in this material world, I am burning in the blazing fire of material reactions. Somehow or other, my dear Lord, I have come to take shelter under your lotus feet. Please accept me and give me protection. And Srila Narottam Das Thakur also prays, O my dear Lord, O son of Nanda Maharaj, associated with the daughter of Rishabhanu, I have come to take shelter under your lotus feet after suffering greatly in the material condition of life. And I pray that you please be merciful unto me. Please do not kick me away, for I have no other shelter than you. Right? So, all these pure devotees, these pure realized souls, are praying for the mercy of the Lord. And we can learn these prayers and imbibe them, learn them, recite them when we are in front of the Lord. Right? So the conclusion is that any process of self-realization or God-realization other than bhakti yogi or devotional service is extremely difficult. Taking shelter of devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness is therefore the only way to become free from contamination of material conditioned life, especially in this age. Those who are not Krishna conscious are simply wasting their time, and they have no tangible proof of spiritual life. So it's very, very important for us to engage in devotional service, because devotional service is so practical that you can engage anywhere, anytime. Right? It's not just at the temple. You can be at home, you can be a householder and engage 24 hours in devotional service. And in this way, purifying yourself to go back home, back to Godhead. Right? So it is said by Lord Ramachandra, I always give confidence and security to anyone who surrenders unto me and decides definitely that he is my eternal servant, for that is my inclination. Similarly, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, the influence of material nature is insurmountable, but anyone who surrenders unto me can easily overcome the influence of material nature. And this is Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, text 14. Devi esha gunamayi, mama maya duratyaya mam eva ye prapandyante mayam etam tarantite. The devotees are not at all interested in arguing with the non-devotees to nullify their theories. Rather than wasting time, they are always engaged themselves in transcendental, loving service of the Lord in full Krishna consciousness. So, here we see the importance of engaging in devotional service. And devotees are always engaged in devotional service. So, now you might ask the question is, I have to go to work. I have to engage with the materialists at work. How is that devotional service? We have to perform our prescribed duties. But in Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that engage in your prescribed duties, but leave the results or offer the results to me. And in this way, you will come to me. Right? So while we are performing our prescribed duties, we can still think of Krishna. We can, even at work, while you're at work, those that are, have the chance to catch up, or maybe during your lunch break, catch up on a few rounds, you are able to focus your mind away from all these material aspects and think of Krishna. So in that way, keep your mind always engaged in Krishna. Right? And you will be making spiritual advancement. And then, of course, we also understand that even though we engaging in these material activities as prescribed duties, where we need to go to work, those that have obligations to family and dependents, you can arrange or you can change your mindset when you are at work, or you can pray to Krishna that I am performing this duty, but it is a service to you. And at the end of the day, or even early in the morning, you could pray that I am about to endeavor or embark on my activities for the day, but they are as a service to you. So whatever activities we perform, then we offer it to Krishna. So we do not get the results of that material bondage, because that work then becomes devotional service. And the fruit of that work you can offer to Krishna in terms of the Lakshmi. You can buy something for Krishna. You're obviously offering at home when you are taking care of your family. You're buying eatables. You cooking that and you offering it to Krishna. You buy clothes. Anything that you, any activity that you perform with the fruit of your labor, offer it to Krishna. Then it becomes devotional service. And in that way, there is no bondage. So the Vedas continue. Dear Lord, although great mystic yogis may have control over the elephant of the mind and the hurricane of the senses, unless they take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, they fall victim to the material influence and are never successful in their attempts at self-realization. Such unguided persons are compared to merchants going to sea on a ship without a captain. And Srila Prabhupada's comments, by one's personal attempts, therefore, one cannot get free from the clutches of material nature. One has to accept a bona fide spiritual master and work according to his direction. Then it is possible to cross over the nescience of material conditions. Sripad Sridhar Swami has composed a nice verse in this connection, in which he says, O all-merciful spiritual master, representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when my mind will be completely surrendered unto your lotus feet, at that time, only by your mercy, I shall be able to get relief from the obstacles of spiritual life, and I shall be situated in blissful life. Actually, ecstatic samadhi or absorption in the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be achieved by constant engagement in his service. And this constant engagement in devotional service can be performed only when one works under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. The Vedas therefore instruct that in order to know the science of devotional service, one has to submit himself unto a bona fide spiritual master. The bona fide spiritual master is he who knows the science of devotional service in disciplic succession. This disciplic succession is called Shrotya. The prime symptom of one who has become a spiritual master in disciplic succession is that he is 100% fixed in bhakti yoga. Sometimes people neglect to accept a spiritual master, and instead they endeavor for self-realization by mystic yoga process. But there are many instances of failure, even by great yogis like Vishwamitra. Arjuna has said in Bhagavad Gita that controlling the mind is as impractical as stopping the blowing of a hurricane. Sometimes the mind is compared to a maddened elephant. Without following the direction of a spiritual master, one cannot control the mind. And with the mind, controlling the senses. If, in other words, if one If one practices yoga mysticism and does not accept a bona fide spiritual master, he will surely fail. He will simply waste his valuable time. The Vedic injunction is that no one can have full knowledge without being under the guidance of an acharya. Acharyavan Purusho Veda. One who has accepted an acharya knows what is what. The absolute truth cannot be understood by arguments. One who has attained the perfect Brahmanical stage naturally becomes renowned and does not strive for material gain because by spiritual knowledge he has come to the conclusion that in this world there's no insufficiency. Everything is sufficiently provided by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A real Brahman, therefore, does not endeavor for material perfection. He approaches a bona fide spiritual master to accept orders from him. A spiritual master's qualification is that he is Brahmanishta, which means he has given up all other qualities and has dedicated his life to working only for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When a bona fide student approaches a bona fide spiritual master, he submissively prays to the spiritual master, "My dear Lord, kindly accept me as your student and train me in such a way that I will be able to give up all other processes of realization and simply engage in Krishna consciousness, devotional service." So it's very, very important for us to accept a spiritual master. Now it's almost 8:30, so I just want to relate one pastime to you. That Srila Prabhupada was speaking once in Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada was sharing his understanding of Vrindavan, revealing to the disciples. He said that there are beautiful flowers, there are animals, there are peacocks and birds singing and bees buzzing. There's Krishna and Balaram playing with the cowherd boys. Right? So one disciple said to him, "You are describing this pristine Vrindavan, but when I look around, all I see is the latrine, the mosquitoes, the pigs, the rickshawalas, and the open sewers. I don't see the Vrindavan that you are seeing, Srila Prabhupada. Why?" Right? So Srila Prabhupada said, "That's because there's a speck in your eye." Right? So the devotee, so he had glasses, right? So specs, glasses. Right? So he took it out. He took out his glasses, but he was still seeing the same. So then Srila Prabhupada explained that the speck in your eye is the desire for material enjoyment. He says, when you remove that desire for material enjoyment and practice Krishna consciousness, then this view, the pure view of Vrindavan will come. And in Brahma Samhita it's quoted, "Premanjana chureta bhakti vilochanena santa sadeva hridesha vilokayanti yam shama sundaram achintya guna swarupam govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami." When your eyes are covered with the salve of love, then you will see Vrindavan or any other holy places mentioned in our scriptures. So, we can only see this Vrindavan that Srila Prabhupada is describing through the mercy of the spiritual master, when we are able to remove that speck from our eye. So here the Vedas are speaking about how important it is to take shelter of a spiritual master. Now Srila Prabhupada quoted Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra was performing austerities for many thousands of years, but he was disturbed by Menaka, this Apsara that came from the heavenly planets, and his entire His entire tapasya was disturbed. So that's why it is very, very important for us, if we are serious about spiritual life, to surrender unto a spiritual master and follow their instructions. So it is now 8:30 and I will stop here. This is a very long chapter. There's been, I think, 3 speakers before me, and there probably will be a few more, because these prayers by the Vedas are very, very deep and very, very wonderful. So thank you, devotees. And are there any comments, questions, any realizations? Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.